Hi friends, this is Leela. Welcome to my channel leelawebdev. In the previous video, we have successfully created the component using the TestBed. So we have seen how to use the TestBed and when to use the TestBed we have seen. So one scenario we have covered that TestBed is used to resolve the dependencies in a component. That means if a component have any dependencies, something like user service or any dependencies it is having means. So in order to resolve those dependencies, in order to automatically resolve those dependencies for a component instead of passing manually, so TestBed takes care of those dependencies, and whenever you create a component, so it will take care of all those resolving those dependencies. So that is the use we have seen about the TestBed. Other than this TestBed, other than this scenario, so TestBed handles so many things also. Not only for one thing, not only for that thing TestBed will be used. So TestBed will be used for so many scenarios. Let's try to learn in this video what is a TestBed and why we need to use the TestBed and what are the different things that we can overcome, we can find the solutions when we use this TestBed in a unit testing. Let's try to learn. So this is the slideshow. So let's open the slideshow. Yeah. Now if you try to see, so this is the Angular TestBed. Up to now we have seen that testing the component class is as straightforward as testing a service. In the previous video we have seen that one only. So we have tested the component, but what we have tested actually, we have tested a component class. That means component class means it's just a TypeScript class. So that means using the TestBed we have tested the component class just straightforward how we test the service, or pipes or anything class. So like that straightforwardly we have tested the component class itself. But a component is more than just its class. But a component does not have only the class, it has more than the class. A component interacts with the DOM and with other components. So this is the main thing. So component, what it does, so not only it is not only an ordinary class, a component also interacts with the DOM. So it has a template, right? So it interacts with the DOM and also it has other components also like child components and all those things. We know that an Angular component is a combination of HTML template and a TypeScript class. We know that Angular component is a combination of HTML template and TypeScript class. The component truly is the template and the class working together. So the component, what is that component means? So component, when we say a component, so when we can say is the component is, it is a combination of template and the class working together. If those both are working together only, then we can say it as a component. To adequately test a component, so that means to perfectly test a component, you should test that both template and the TypeScript work together as intended. So if you want to test a component means you should test both the template and also a TypeScript. Up to now what we have learned, we have tested only the TypeScript class. So we haven't tested the template. So we need to test the template and the TypeScript that both are working together as intended or not. The class only test. So class only test means so which we test only the TypeScript class can tell you about class behavior. So how the TypeScript class works only it will tell you. They cannot tell you if the component is going to render properly, respond to user input and gestures or integrate with its parent and child components. So by testing solely the TypeScript class, we cannot tell that the component is going to render, how the HTML is getting rendered, is it getting rendered properly as intended or not. So we cannot determine that one. So we can just test the behavior of the class, whether when we execute a method, so what will happen, what are the things it will update, so what the variables and all those things only we can check when we are testing the TypeScript class. These tests require creating the component's host element in the browser DOM as Angular does and investigating the component class interaction with the DOM as described by its template. So what is this one you are saying? So the test what we have tried, so requires creating the component host element in the browser DOM. So now if you want to test a component means the component has to render the template in the browser DOM as which the Angular does. So normally when you execute an application, the component will render the template into the DOM. So when you are testing also, you need to render the elements in the DOM as how the Angular does and also investigate the component class interaction. So whatever the component class you are having, so you need to investigate that interaction with the DOM. So whether the proper interaction with the DOM is happening with the TypeScript class or not. So we need to test it. In many cases, testing the component class alone without DOM involvement can validate much of the component's behavior in a straightforward, more obvious way. So this is the thing what we have did up to now. So many cases, 90% of the cases we cannot, there is no need to interact with the DOM or anything. So just if you test the TypeScript class itself, so it will take care of everything, and we can validate most 90% of the behavior we can assume, and we can test it. Now the Angular TestBed. So we learned about this Angular TestBed, right? So Angular TestBed is a high level Angular only testing framework that allows us to easily test behaviors that depend on the Angular framework. So this TestBed is a high level Angular only testing framework that allows to easily test behaviors. If you want to test the behavior, means we can use this Angular TestBed that depends on the Angular framework. Trying to test whether changes in the state of our application trigger changes in the view without Angular TestBed is complicated. For example, whenever you change an Angular element or anything, whenever you click on this element or anything button, so whenever we click on the button, so we need to check that whether the Angular state, the component class state has been changed or not. So in order to check those changes without using this Angular TestBed is very complicated. So we cannot test those changes. So but ATB means Angular TestBed makes it much simpler with using Angular TestBed. So now we will see how to declare a Angular TestBed. So here if you try to see, so this is the declaration as we already seen in the previous videos, testbed.configure testing module. Now what we need to do? We need to test the component with its template, right? So now you need to add the component, whichever the component you want to test in the declarations. Okay, normally we will be giving the component in the declarations itself in the app modules. So like that here also you need to give in the banner component. In the previous video we have given it in the providers. Why? Because we are testing only the class behavior. So that is the reason I have added in the providers. But now we need to check along with its component, along with its template. Now we should not provide in the providers. It should be added in the declarations. Declarations, the component we have added. Now you will get a fixture testbed.create component. So this testbed.create component will create the component for us, and it will add that component template into the DOM, and it will give you the fixture. Okay, so now if you want to get the instance of this component, so here fixture.component instance you will have. In this fixture you will have the DOM elements along with its component instance. So if you want to get this component instance, you can get using this fixture.component instance. So let's see one by one this one. So first one is testbed.configure testing module. So this one is just like the ng module itself. Whatever the component you want to test it, so you need to add it here in the declarations. There is no need to declare or import anything else. Why? Because so normally what we will be importing, we will importing the browser module and all those things you will import in the app module, right? But here there is no need to import. Why? Because the default test module is pre-configured with something like the browser module from the Angular platform browser. So now whatever the component you want to test, you can test it directly by adding only that component. There is no need to import browser modules and all those things. There is no need to import. After configuring the TestBed, you will call its create component method. So now you need, after configuring the TestBed, now you need to call the create component. So this create component creates an instance of the banner component, adds a corresponding element to the test runner DOM, and returns a component fixture. So now this create component returns a component fixture. The fixture consists of the instance of the banner component and also the element of this DOM, of this component DOM. Okay, the fixture consists both the things. So it's not a component instance, it's a component fixture. Now to access the component instance, we use fixture.component instance. Component instance means where this will give you to access all the properties and methods in the component class. So if you want to access the methods or properties in the component class means, so you need to get it fixture.component instance. Using fixture native element and the debug element. So fixture has another property, native element and the debug element. So we using this native element and debug element, we will access the elements in the component template. So this is how we will be using this TestBed. So first one by one we will see about this TestBed, how to create a TestBed, how to create a component using the TestBed and all those things. Let's try to see it in the next video. So this is the overall the introduction of the TestBed. So TestBed not only resolves the dependencies, not only resolves the dependencies for the component, and also it will create a component along with its template so that we can test that component template along with its component. Okay, so it will give you a component fixture so that you can test the template also for that component. Okay, this is what about TestBed. So TestBed is solely present in the Angular framework. It is utility class present in the Angular framework itself. We can use it only in the Angular. So this is all about the TestBed. If you have any doubts or any suggestions, please post the comments below to this video. I will try to give the reply. And also if you like this video, please do support me by subscribing to my channel. Thank you.